You know that moment in a meeting when everyone suddenly starts talking faster? Someone throws out an idea, another person interrupts halfway through, and someone else is already arguing about numbers no one has even checked yet. The room fills with urgency, like everyone is racing to be the first one with an answer. And in the middle of all that noise, there's usually one person who isn't rushing. They're leaning back slightly, listening, watching the conversation unfold. Sometimes they stay quiet longer than everyone else. From the outside, it can look like they're slow or not fully engaged. But then something interesting happens. When they finally speak, the room tends to quiet down. People listen. And if you follow the careers of people like this long enough, you start noticing a pattern. Very often, the calmest person in the room ends up making the most money. Not every time, of course, but often enough that psychologists have started paying attention to it. Now, before we go deeper, it helps to clear something up. If you're someone who naturally pauses before speaking, someone who reads a message and waits a moment before replying, someone who prefers thinking things through instead of reacting immediately, you may have wondered if that makes you slower than everyone else. Modern culture celebrates speed. Fast responses look confident. Quick opinions sound powerful. The person who speaks first often appears the most certain. Meanwhile, the person who pauses can sometimes feel like they're falling behind the conversation. But psychology has been quietly pointing out something important for years. Fast reactions and good decisions are not the same thing. In fact, many of the most expensive mistakes people make happen precisely because they reacted too quickly. To understand why calm people often do well financially, it helps to look at how the brain handles pressure. When something stressful happens, the brain usually reacts fast. Heart rate rises, thoughts speed up, and the mind tries to solve the problem immediately. This reaction comes from very old survival systems in the brain. Thousands of years ago, quick reactions kept people alive. If something moved in the bushes, you didn't pause to analyze it, you ran. But modern decisions, especially financial ones, rarely reward speed in the same way. They reward patience and clarity. And calm people tend to create a small gap between what happens and how they respond. This small pause might only last a few seconds, but psychologically it changes everything. When someone reacts instantly, they stay inside that fast emotional system. But when they pause, another part of the brain has time to step in. This slower system starts looking for patterns. It asks quieter questions. Instead of reacting to the noise in the room, it begins noticing what is actually happening. Who is confident and who is simply loud? Which opportunity truly makes sense, and which one only feels exciting because everyone else seems excited. Calm people often do this without even realizing it. Their mind simply waits long enough to see the bigger picture. Here's the part most people miss. That pause allows calm individuals to notice things others overlook. When a group is moving quickly, attention narrows. People focus only on what feels urgent. But someone who stays calm keeps a wider view. They notice tone, timing, hesitation, and subtle signals in conversations. Over time, this ability improves decision-making, and decisions, especially long-term ones, shape financial outcomes more than most people realize. Wealth rarely comes from one brilliant move. It usually grows from hundreds of small choices made over many years. There's also a social side to calmness that people underestimate. Calm individuals tend to make others feel comfortable during conversations. They listen longer before responding. They don't rush to interrupt or prove a point. Psychologists call this emotional regulation, which simply means being able to experience emotions without immediately acting on them. People who have this ability create a sense of stability around them, and over time, that stability builds trust. Trust plays a surprisingly large role in financial success. Money often follows responsibility, and responsibility tends to follow trust. When situations become uncertain, people naturally look for someone who seems steady, someone who isn't panicking, someone who can hold the emotional temperature of the room a little lower. And very often, that person is the calm one. Interestingly, many calm people never try to become leaders. They're not chasing attention, but their steady presence slowly attracts responsibility toward them. People rely on them. They get included in bigger decisions, and those decisions often open the door to opportunity. There's another layer researchers often talk about. Calm people tend to make fewer impulsive decisions. Many financial mistakes happen during emotional spikes. Someone buys something expensive out of excitement. Someone invests in something risky because everyone else is doing it. Someone quits something valuable because frustration suddenly feels overwhelming. Emotional decisions feel urgent in the moment, but urgency and importance are rarely the same thing. Calm people naturally slow those moments down. They create enough distance for the emotional wave to pass before deciding what actually makes sense. Over time, this pattern compounds. Small pauses lead to clearer thinking leads to better decisions slowly shape the direction of a life. From the outside, it can look like luck or talent, but very often it's simply the result of someone creating a little space between emotion and action. By the way, if these kinds of psychological deep dives are interesting to you, you might enjoy staying connected here. This channel is simply a place where we explore the quieter patterns behind human behavior and everyday life. So if you'd like more conversations like this, you're welcome to subscribe. And if you want to support deeper discussions like this one, becoming a channel member genuinely helps keep them going. At the end of the day, the psychology of calm people isn't really about money. It's about how the mind responds to pressure. Some people react instantly, pulled by whatever emotion fills the room. Others create a small pause before responding. That small pause can look subtle, almost invisible, but over years it quietly shapes decisions, relationships, and opportunities. And sometimes that small space between reaction and response becomes one of the most valuable advantages a person can have.